Hello, dear learner. Welcome back to Build Your English, the podcast that helps you learn simple and useful English for everyday life. I'm Jessica, your host. In today's episode, we're going to talk about daily routines. Daily routines are one of the easiest and most important topics in English. With just a few simple phrases, you can explain what you do each day, share your habits with friends, and ask other people about their lives. Learning to talk about your daily routine is powerful. Why? Because it gives you sentences that you can actually use right away. These are not complicated grammar rules. These are not difficult words. They are small, simple sentences that help you share your life. And when you share your life in English, you build confidence. You feel more natural, and you start to think in English little by little. So in this lesson, I'll guide you through a whole day. We'll begin in the morning, continue through the afternoon, move into the evening, and finish at night. At the end, you'll also hear a story about Sarah's daily routine. That story will put everything together in one natural flow. Along the way, I'll give you examples, little tips, and ideas for practice. Let's begin with the morning because that's where every day starts. In the morning, you wake up, get ready, and prepare for the day ahead. This is one of the easiest parts to talk about because almost everyone has a similar morning. The first phrase is, I wake up. This is the moment when you open your eyes and stop sleeping. For example, I wake up at 7 o'clock. I wake up late on Sunday. I wake up when my alarm rings. Notice that you can change the time or you can explain why you wake up. If you want, you can also say, I usually wake up to show your habit. After waking up, the next step is I get up. This means leaving your bed. For example, I get up at 7:30. I get up quickly because I have to go to work. I get up and open the window. You can see that wake up and get up are different. Many learners confuse them, but now you know the difference. Wake up means open your eyes. Get up means leave the bed. Once you get up, many people go to the bathroom. You can say, I wash my face. For example, I wash my face in the morning. I wash my face with cold water. I wash my face before breakfast. Washing your face is small, but it's a good phrase to know. The next part is brushing your teeth. You can say, I brush my teeth. For example, I brush my teeth every morning. I brush my teeth before going to school. I brush my teeth after drinking coffee. Simple, clear, and very useful. Some people take a shower in the morning. You can say, I take a shower. For example, I take a shower before work. I take a shower quickly. I take a shower to wake up. A shower is often the first big activity of the day. When you are clean, you need to get dressed. You can say, I get dressed. For example, I get dressed for school. I get dressed in my uniform. I get dressed after my shower. Clothes are part of daily life, and this is the way you can describe them. Now let's talk about food. Breakfast is the first meal of the day. You can say, I eat breakfast. For example, I eat breakfast at 8 o'clock. I eat breakfast with my family. I eat breakfast at the kitchen table. Breakfast can be big or small, but in English, the phrase is always the same. Many people also drink something in the morning. You can say, I drink coffee in the morning. I drink coffee before work. I drink coffee with milk. Coffee is such a common part of life that this phrase is very useful. Or you can say, I drink tea. For example, I drink tea every morning. I drink tea with my breakfast. I drink tea when I feel cold. Again, very simple, very practical. After breakfast, many people check their phone. You can say, I check my phone. For example, I check my phone for messages. I check my phone before leaving home. I check my phone to read the news. Phones are part of modern life, so this is a realistic phrase you will use often. And finally, it's time to leave home. If you are working, you can say, I go to work. For example, I go to work at 9 o'clock. I go to work by bus. I go to work with my coworker. You can also replace work with the office or the company. If you are a student, you can say, I go to school. For example, I go to school at 8:30. I go to school with my friend. I go to school by bike. School routines are very common, so this is a must-know phrase. And that's the morning routine, from waking up to going to school or work. If you enjoy this kind of episode, please subscribe to Build Your English and leave a comment. This would help us a lot. Now let's move to the middle of the day, noon and the afternoon. This part of the day is usually full of activity. People eat lunch, return to work or school, and sometimes enjoy a short break. At 12 o'clock, many people eat their second meal. The phrase is, I eat lunch. For example, I eat lunch at 12 o'clock. I eat lunch with my coworkers. I eat lunch at home. Lunch is simple but important, and it's one of the easiest phrases to use in daily English. Some people also drink something after lunch. You can say, I drink coffee after lunch. I drink coffee at the office. I drink coffee with sugar. Notice how the sentence stays simple but communicates exactly what you do. Or you can say, I drink tea. For example, I drink tea in the afternoon. I drink tea with a snack. I drink tea at my desk. Again, 3 easy examples you can change with your own details. After lunch, most people return to their main activity. If you are working, you can say, I work in the afternoon. For example, I work in the office until 5 o'clock. I work on my computer in the afternoon. I work with my team after lunch. Work sentences are useful because almost every conversation with new people includes a question about your job. If you are a student, you can say, I study in the afternoon. For example, I study English in the afternoon. I study in the library. I study until 3 o'clock. These are realistic sentences that show how you spend your study time. Of course, afternoons are not only for work or study. Sometimes we do other things. One useful phrase is, I go shopping. For example, I go shopping at the supermarket. I go shopping after school. I go shopping with my friend. Shopping is a universal activity, so this phrase works in many situations. Other times, people enjoy walking. You can say, I take a walk. For example, I take a walk in the park. I take a walk with my dog. I take a walk after lunch. Walking is not just good for health, but it's also easy to talk about in English. And sometimes when you feel tired, you can take a nap. You can say, I take a nap in the afternoon. I take a nap on the sofa. I take a nap for 30 minutes. Short naps are common in many countries, and this phrase makes it easy to describe. In the afternoon, you might also have appointments or group activities. You can say, I have a meeting. For example, I have a meeting at 3 o'clock. I have a meeting with my boss. I have a meeting in the office. Meetings are a big part of working life, and this phrase is very practical. If you are a student, you can say, I have class. For example, I have class at 2 o'clock. I have class on Monday afternoon. I have class at the university. Simple, clear, and easy to use. Sometimes afternoons are also for hobbies. You can say, I read a book. For example, I read a book in the afternoon. I read a book at the library. I read a book before dinner. Reading shows a personal side of your daily life. Or you can say, I watch TV. For example, I watch TV in the afternoon. I watch TV before dinner. I watch TV with my family. Watching TV is universal, so this phrase helps you talk with anyone. After the afternoon comes the evening. The evening begins when you finish work or school and return home. For many people, this is the time to rest, eat, and spend time with family or friends. The first phrase is, I come home. For example, I come home at 6 o'clock. I come home after work. I come home from school. This phrase is basic but very useful. When you arrive home, the first thing you might want to do is rest. You can say, I relax. For example, I relax on the sofa. I relax in the living room. I relax with music. Relaxing is something everyone does, and now you can say it in English. Next comes food. You can say, I cooked dinner. For example, I cooked dinner at 7 o'clock. I cooked dinner for my family. I cooked dinner in the kitchen. Cooking is a daily habit for many people, so this is practical language. After cooking comes eating. You can say, I eat dinner. For example, I eat dinner with my family. I eat dinner at the table. I eat dinner at a restaurant. Dinner is social time, and these sentences help you share that. After eating, it's time to clean. You can say, I wash the dishes. For example, I wash the dishes after dinner. I wash the dishes in the sink. I wash the dishes before relaxing. Evenings are also a time for entertainment. You can say, I watch TV. For example, I watch TV in the evening. I watch TV with my family. I watch TV before bed. Some people like to read. You can say, I read a book. For example, I read a book in the evening. I read a book on the sofa. I read a book before bed. Another relaxing activity is listening to music. You can say, I listen to music. For example, I listen to music in the evening. I listen to music with headphones. I listen to music before sleeping. Evenings are also about connecting with others. You can say, I talk with my family. For example, I talk with my family after dinner. I talk with my family in the living room. I talk with my family before bed. Or you can say, I call my friend. For example, I call my friend in the evening. I call my friend after dinner. I call my friend before bed. After the evening comes the night. Night routines usually happen just before going to sleep. These sentences are simple but very important. One phrase is, I take a shower. For example, I take a shower at night. I take a shower before bed. I take a shower to relax. The next phrase is, I brush my teeth. For example, I brush my teeth at night. I brush my teeth before sleeping. I brush my teeth in the bathroom. Then we can say, I put on pajamas. For example, I put on pajamas after my shower. I put on pajamas before bed. I put on pajamas when I feel sleepy. Before sleeping, you might say, I set my alarm. For example, I set my alarm for 7 o'clock. I set my alarm on my phone. I set my alarm before sleeping. Now it's time to go to bed. You can say, I go to bed. For example, I go to bed at 10 o'clock. I go to bed when I feel tired. I go to bed after reading. And finally, you can say, I sleep. For example, I sleep at night. I sleep for 8 hours. I sleep until morning. Sarah wakes up at 7 o'clock every morning. She gets up, opens the window, and makes her bed. Then she goes to the bathroom. She washes her face, brushes her teeth, and takes a shower. After her shower, she dries her hair and gets dressed for work. At 8 o'clock, Sarah eats breakfast in the kitchen. She eats breakfast with her family and drinks a cup of coffee. While eating, she sometimes checks her phone to read messages or look at the news. At 8:30, she leaves the house. She takes the bus to work, and the ride takes about 30 minutes. At 12 o'clock, Sarah eats lunch with her coworkers. They eat in the cafeteria. Sometimes she eats a sandwich, and sometimes she eats rice with vegetables. After lunch, she drinks a small cup of tea. Then she goes back to the office. She works at her computer, she answers emails, and she talks with her team. In the afternoon, she sometimes takes a short walk outside the office to get fresh air. At 6 o'clock, Sarah comes home. She feels a little tired, so she relaxes on the sofa for a while. At 7, she goes to the kitchen and cooks dinner. Tonight, she makes pasta with salad. At 7:30, she eats dinner with her family at the table. After dinner, she washes the dishes and cleans the kitchen. Later in the evening, Sarah spends some time with her family. She talks with them in the living room. Then she watches TV with her brother. Around 9 o'clock, she listens to some music in her room and reads a book. At 10 o'clock, she gets ready for bed. She takes a shower, brushes her teeth, and puts on her pajamas. Before sleeping, she sets her alarm for 7 o'clock the next morning. Finally, she goes to bed, reads a few more pages of her book, turns off the light, and falls asleep. This is Sarah's daily routine from morning to night. That brings us to the end of today's episode of Build Your English. We've learned how to describe a full day in English, from waking up in the morning to going to bed at night. You also heard Sarah's story, which showed how these simple sentences connect together into a natural routine. Now it's your turn. Try to describe your own daily routine in English. You can keep it short, or you can make it longer by adding details. The important thing is to practice speaking it out loud. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to Build Your English and leave a comment. This helps us a lot and lets us know what kind of lessons you like. And remember, keep practicing every day, keep smiling, and keep building your English step by step.